Hi, it's Greg Harrell here with another Vim screencast. Tonight I want to talk about writing compiler plugins. And specifically I want to give one tip about how to test the plugins, which I picked up from Reddit not that long ago. So first of all, just for some background, if you don't know what a compiler plugin is, I'm just going to show you an example here of a bunch of them. Let's say that one. A compiler plugin is something that, as you can see, it comes with Vim. If I have a look in here, you can see there's a bunch of different compiler plugins for different languages. And what they do basically is they define a so-called error format, which you can see here, which basically is a series of patterns that can be matched against the output of a compiler. And the idea is that these error formats, they extract information about lines and columns where errors occurred. And the other thing they do, although I don't think there's evidence of it in this, there's no make program in this one. The other thing these compiler plugins do is they define make programs. So in this example, I'm looking at the Haml one. It defines the make program to be the Haml executable. And so you can imagine for a C project, you might want to make the make program be GCC or Clang. For a TypeScript project, you might want it to be the TypeScript compiler. And basically, you would have an error format that matched the output of that compiler, and then you'd be able to run make like this, and it would put the error output in the quick fix list so you can jump around. So that brings me to the tip that I wanted to share, which is how do you test these things? So I'm going to show you some compiler plugins that I have. So for example, let's have a look at the ESLint one. Now ESLint is a lint program for JavaScript projects. And the interesting part here is the error format, I guess. So what this error format means, as you can see, it's split out across a number of lines where each part is separated by a comma. Basically, what Vim is going to do when you run the so-called make program, which would be ESLint in this case, it's going to look at the output and it's going to try these things one at a time to see if they match an output line. And if they do, then these little escape sequences here, or whatever they are, format markers, tell it how to interpret that output. So in this case, for example, P means push something onto the stack. So that something is going to be a file, and that's what %f matches. And the minus here means just capture the output, don't actually print it anywhere. So if there's a file name, then we'll push it onto the stack. If the line doesn't match a file name, then we're going to match some white space, 0 or more of it. Then we're going to match a line number, a column number, some more white space, the word error, and the %t there is going to match the letter E to show that it's an error, just as in the subsequent line, which you'll notice is exactly the same, but instead of error we have warning. In this case, %t matches W for warning, and so Vim will use that to decide whether it should be classified as an error or warning. And then after that, more white space, and then the message text of the error itself. If neither of those match, then it's going to pop off the stack. That's what the Q does, and it's going to suppress the output. That's what the minus does. And that means that subsequent lines will not be considered to be error messages applying to the item that was on the top of the stack. And then finally, this G just matches a general message, and the minus there says basically swallow the general message, don't echo it. And this here says 0 or more of anything. So all of this is heavily documented in the help. So if we look at the error format, you'll see there's a bunch here of information about the different % sequences and what they mean. I'm not going to explain all of that beyond what I did. But suffice to say, it can be quite tricky to get these format strings right. And this is where we come to my tip. The tip is that if you grab some output from ESLint, which I'm now going to make a little bit more visible, and I think I'm also going to set the file type to just text so that you can actually see this without all the horrible highlighting. Basically, the finish command here prevents Vim from evaluating the rest of the script, and what the rest of the script is just sample output from ESLint. And if you look at the error format that I had up above, you'll see how it's intended to match this output. So, for example, all these lines that don't start with anything in particular, they end up getting caught by their last resort rule at the end there and just swallowed. Whereas what I see here on line 41, that's going to match the file name rule. And same with this one here on line 44, that's going to match the file name rule. And when the file name gets pushed onto the stack by this rule and we start looking at the other lines, they'll hit these patterns. And as you can see, they match, line number, column number, error type, whether it be error or warning, and then the text. And then finally, we have some stuff down the bottom that won't match anything. So how do I test this output? Well, I have a little function, which I have in an autoloaded file called, actually I thought I had it. Isn't it under debug? It is, just didn't autocomplete. I guess that's because it hasn't loaded the file yet. So basically what this function is going to do is it's going to read the buffer here and grab everything after finish and then test it against the error format. So you see, it's as though I'd run it in another project, and what it did was it took the path, as you can see, and correctly extracted the line and column information and the text for all of those. And so just say I made a mistake. Let's try just deleting a line there. If I run the test again, you'll see it didn't capture anything. So this is a great way to, with a pretty quick turnaround time, test your error formats. So if I go to another example, let's have a look at the TypeScript one. The error format here is a little different and the output's a little different. This line says match a multi-line error. That's what %e means. It's going to look for file, followed by colon, followed by line, followed by column, followed by some amount of white space, followed by a dash, which is what you would see here, followed by the word error. And once again, we capture the type E by with using %t there in that position, match some white space, then TS and a number, which is the error number, a colon, more white space, and then the actual message. So that's what we're seeing here with lines like this one on line 17. And then everything else gets swallowed. So this is basically saying anything that doesn't start with space or a number, followed by anything else. And this is saying anything that's just like a blank line, which only has space. So let me do that trick that I did with a file type before to make this a little bit more intelligible. This is what the output of the TypeScript compiler looks like. As you can see, it's got the file names, it's got the errors, and then it's got some arbitrary number of lines where it just prints stuff to help you understand the error. So when I run the test function on this, you'll see that I can, in theory, I would be able to jump between these results if these were really files, but they're not because it's a fake kind of fixture. But I would be able to jump between these files. The file names are right, the line and column information is right, and I have the context there needed to make sense of what the full error message is. So that is how you would use it, and now I guess I'm just going to show you the definition of that compiler function itself. Basically what it does is it sources the file, it clears the quick fix listing, and then it takes everything from finish onwards and shoves it into the quick fix listing. So, and then it opens the quick fix listing. So the effect of sourcing the file obviously has the effect of evaluating those error format definitions, which is why when you run cgetBuffer, the error format is used to correctly pull apart the input and stick it in the quick fix listing for you. So that's the tip. I hope you find it useful, and if you find this kind of stuff handy, pues just subscribe. I actually just said a Spanish word there. Didn't need to. Just hit subscribe. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks. Bye.